Sorry, I was muted. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with our info session. My name is Kiwi. I am in UCLA UniCamp as a program director for one of our older camper programs. It is a backpacking program for kids in high school. So if you join UniCamp, you'll probably hear all about it. But today I'm going to host our informational session and kind of explain more about what UniCamp is for those of you who are interested. So let me just pull up these slides. Okay. Okay, so what is UCLA UniCamp? UniCamp is essentially in what it sounds like an overnight summer camp hosted by UCLA students. We take youth from the greater Los Angeles area and take them up to our summer camp in San Bernardino National Forest. And we stay up there for basically a week-long session and do summer camp activities that you might imagine. It's a great place to build community with other UCLA students, with other alumni. It's a great place for networking with other people connected to UCLA and to the community. And also working with kids is our biggest point. We work with communities and have a week-long session at our summer camp and have some time to connect with nature. So UniCamp is pretty great. Okay, so a little bit about UniCamp's history. UniCamp has been around for a really long time. In 1928 is first when students got together to create a canned food drive for children of need in Sawtell. So they stayed local to the area. By 1934 is when UniCamp was first established as an organization. And in the summer of 1935 is when we had our first camp session. It was hosted by 12 UCLA student volunteers and 54 children attended the summer camp. And we have had camp basically every summer since then. 1948 was the year that we became the official charity of UCLA, and we received a USAC sponsorship for UniCamp. 1968, we hosted our first multicultural sessions. So sessions focused more towards groups of interest of certain demographics of kids that we want to serve, such as Latinx, African American, and Asian American focused sessions. And 2020 was our first year that we had to go virtual due to the pandemic. Everybody had to change the way they lived, and so did UniCamp. So we had the online camp session that year. But now, in the present day, we're back in person, and we're coming back to all of our in-person sessions with individual missions with every week of camp that we host. Right. And for this next slide, I'm going to ask Todoroki if you don't mind kind of going over what the continuum of care is for UniCamp.
Alrighty. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Todoroki. That's my camp name. Otherwise, I am known as Antonio. So you'll just go out, you'll probably see a bunch of weird names, and that's just because we prefer to go by our camp name or an alias, and then we unveil what our real names are as a tradition the last day of camp. So that's why you'll see all those different names. But the continuum of care, so this is kind of the foundation of what we believe our student leaders can become. So we think of it as kind of a cycle where, we're empowering UCLA student volunteers to become tomorrow's community leaders. And how that happens is we start with the development of kids. Those kids will be then given the opportunities to become leaders in UniCamp. And then that kind of cycle just continues on where they come back in UniCamp as counselors, and then hopefully that's the goal where they learn all these leadership skills and pass it on to the next generation, and the cycle continues. So you all get to play a part on that by kind of, nurturing these kiddos to kind of believe in their own talents and let them know that they are good enough, that they can do these kinds of opportunities so that they get to come back and pass on the torch to a new set of kids.
Yeah, definitely. I myself can relate, and a lot of people that you may meet in this organization first joined because they attended UniCamp when they were kids. That's how I joined UniCamp, and that's how a lot of my friends also joined. So that all of that is part of the continuum of care that we try to pass on every year. Thanks, Toto. Okay, so a little bit about where our camp is located. We are in the San Bernardino Mountains, which is near Big Bear. So if you've ever been to like Big Bear Lake, oops, okay, we're near Big Bear Lake. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive from UCLA. And we usually go there in buses from UCLA, and we take like all of the counselors, all the kids, and we go up there and we stay there for a week. Okay, so a bit more about our programs. So our biggest program is what we call Classic Camp. So it serves the largest amount of kids, ages 10 to 14, usually as young as 9 up to 14. And this is our classic like summer camp experience where campers are sorted into cabins with 5 to 10 other kids of the same age or gender. And they're usually led by 2 UCLA student volunteers who are their counselors for the week. They also participate in all kinds of activities, like we have arts and crafts, we have mountain biking, swimming, climbing, we have like archery, science rotations, things like that. So as a volunteer, you'll be able to participate in hosting the kids in their cabins and basically being their guardian for the week, and also helping to lead these like activities and these rotations with them. Okay. So next we're going to go over a little bit of what a day at UniCamp looks like. And for this portion, I think I'm going to ask somebody to share out. Let's see, who should I pick? Tiger Lily, if you don't mind, could you go over a little bit of what a day at camp looks like?
Yes. Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Tiger Lily. I am Miss Kiwi's co-counselor this year. I am also the backpacking program program director. So this is a typical day for like we were talking about classic camp. So waking up, there is an optional morning activity that varies by each week and honestly each day depending on what the counselors and the leadership teams have planned out. Sometimes it's a morning hike. Sometimes we'll do this thing called the polar plunge, where we'll jump into the pool at 6 a.m. It really just depends. And it's also optional, so you don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. But if the kiddos want to, it's highly encouraged. Um, then at 7 a.m. is when you do typically wake up. Your leadership team will come around and wake up each of the cabins, and you would then go about your business of getting ready before going to line up for breakfast. And then you would have duties after breakfast to sort of contribute to cleaning up the area. We all try and take care of River Glen and whatever campsite we're at this summer, and just sort of make that a community sort of rule. Um, and then we would typically have rotations throughout the day, about probably 4 to 5 rotations that the kids would be able to go to. And that includes archery. We have a climbing tower. We have mountain biking. We have tons of other options. We have hiking, arts and crafts, and we have our counselors running those different programs. So they'll be specialized in those sort of rotations that they'll be focusing on with the kids, and they'll be able to come up with and have the option to sort of express their creativity in creating their programs, which is a really cool thing about UniCamp is you really get to I think express your creative side and sort of live like childishly. And then in the evening time after we would have dinner, then we would go about our night activities. So sometimes that would include like a talent show or a night hike. whatever, again, the leadership team has planned out for that evening. And then by 10 p.m., that's lights out for everybody. After everybody is asleep and after that, you typically have your counselor campfire in the evening where all the counselors would meet up and sort of reconvene. Everybody shares snacks and sort of just bonds and talks about their day. And then you would end up going to bed after that with your co-counselor watching the kids or vice versa. That's a typical day at UniCamp. I hope I explained that. I know that was a lot to go over, and every day definitely varies by program and by session and by cabin. So this is sort of a rough outline of things.
Mhm. Yeah, the days are definitely very busy. Yeah, they might look a little bit different depending on what your week's mission is, but this is pretty average day. So it's definitely hiring for the kids, which is good for us. Okay, so what do campers learn at UniCamp? What do they get out of camp? Um, I think they can get a lot out of camp. I got a lot out of camp from my experiences. They gain social emotional skills. Camp is really great for building self-esteem, leadership skills. This is especially true for some of the older kids because they are acting like role models for the younger ones that kind of look up to them. And there's definitely opportunities in our programming that helps kids take on leadership roles, and definitely a connection to nature because we're in summer camp and we're outside all the time. So that's really important. Okay, so going into some of the details about specific counselor responsibilities. So these would be responsibilities that you would take on as a volunteer if you decide to join youth camp. So most importantly is safety as a top priority. We always want to make sure that these kids are safe because their parents and guardians are trusting us with them for a whole week. So safety is number one. Giving campers opportunities to grow and have fun, making new friends, building relationships with them. A lot of counselors become like mentors to their kids. And I know people that were campers many years ago and still are in contact with some of their counselors because they just had like a really good connection at camp. So that's very common. There is also a fundraising goal for every volunteer at UniCamp that is $450. So this cost is essentially to help us subsidize costs for families at camp. We do our best to try to reduce costs for families because a lot of overnight camps can be very expensive. So fundraising is a really big part of our mission to make camp a little more accessible for people. So that is part of the requirement of being in UniCamp. Other benefits that you get as a counselor are social skills, you develop leadership, communication, public speaking, working with other people that have different working styles, different personalities. UniCamp is very diverse, so you definitely get a chance to work with people of all kinds of backgrounds and just making new friends. So that's always good. Okay, let's see. We're going to talk about codes. Remy, do you mind explaining what codes are?
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. My camp name is Remy. My real name is a secret. Um, but I'm gonna explain co's. So, I know Tiger Lily threw the word co out earlier. But in a lot of these pictures, you can see that there's people teamed up together. And so during trainings, we have trainings once a week during winter and spring quarter. You're going to be like attending trainings and socials, and you're going to be meeting a bunch of new people. Our session sizes range from like 30 to 60. And you have the opportunity to like see like who you vibe with the best, who you might work with pretty well in like the week of camp. And pretty much like throughout training, you're just trying to see like who your buddy's going to be or who your teammates are. You can have like two co's, or you can have one co. And this is like your like partner in crime, like your rocks, like it's going to be your support system up the mountain. But you basically fill out like a prep form like towards the end of training, and then we have like this giant like reveal of like who's your co. Um, but yeah, I would say that my co's are probably the closest people that I have ever like met in UniCamp. So like your co is someone that you get to like keep forever. So you get to look forward to that when you're in UniCamp.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great part about UniCamp is getting your codes is like this really big thing that builds up throughout your training, and a lot of people stay friends with their codes after years. I know I have too. So, okay, so how do you join UniCamp? Our application is live right now, and you just go to the link unicamp.org/apply, and that will just take you to our application for this year. And that will be due Friday of week 3, so on the 28th of January. So there's a lot of time to fill it out right now, but the earlier the better if you're interested, so you don't forget about it later. And so once you apply, there's usually an interview process that you go through, and then we let you know if you've been accepted, and then you start attending trainings. So training is a very important part of UniCamp. So you will basically be placed into a session where you will come to a weekly training to basically know what your role is, what your responsibility is during the summer. And those will be led by leadership teams of UCLA students who will be training you. We call them L-ship. So they will be training either Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, depending on like your availability. And then once you finish training, basically throughout like the rest of winter quarter and spring quarter, then you'll go to camp in the summer. So that'll be in June or July, depending on which session you're placed in. Just one more slide, I think. Oh, 2 more slides. So these are the dates for this summer's camp sessions that we have right now. So there's going to be 5 weeks of camp, and each week is going to be, I think, 7 or 8 days, starting in the end of June. So a couple weeks after the finals week of like spring quarter, all the way to the end of July. So depending on like what might interest you, so like if you notice, session 1 is for students at UCLA community schools. So we partner with UCLA community schools. I don't know if anybody has heard of these schools before, but they have we've had partnerships with them in the past where a lot of their students will come to our session. So that is session 1, and session 3 is called the Village Session. That is partnered with the Village Nation, which focuses on Black culture and excellence. So they do a lot of work with Black youth. So we have that session as well. And then the sessions 2, 4, and 5 are just like general classic camp sessions that are open to just like the public. So depending on what you might be interested in or what your availability is for the summer, that's what it's looking like right now. So, and that is all we have. This is our Instagram handle if you're interested in just like seeing what we're up to. We post a lot of updates about our application on there, and just like events that we're going to be hosting over the next couple of weeks. So make sure to like follow us, and you can also find the application link on there if you're interested in filling that out. So with that concludes our presentation. We can open it up to questions if